And so you said we are recording, right?
And
Okay.
live streaming. So,
Okay.
there are a couple people, my boyfriend's watching right now. So, hopefully more people will be too. So,
Hello, my name is Emma, and I am excited to welcome you all to the library today. One thing before we get started, please take a moment to fill out your evaluation sheets before you leave today. We use these evaluations to determine the types of events we plan, so we really appreciate your feedback. We also hope to see you at future FPL programs, which you can learn more about by subscribing to one of our 3 newsletters or checking the events calendar on our website. Kathleen is a volunteer and board member with the local nonprofit NWA Community Cat Project. While her love for cats goes back to her childhood, it was during 2020 that her passion turned into action, and Kathleen became deeply involved in trap, neuter, return efforts in the Northwest Arkansas area. Since then, she has been personally responsible for hundreds of community cats being spayed, neutered, and vaccinated. NWA Community Cat Project, which was founded in 2015, spayed and neutered over 4,000 cats in 2023. Kathleen looks forward to sharing her feline knowledge with you so you too can improve the lives of the cats in your community. Please join me in welcoming Kathleen.
Thank you, Emma. So I'm going to get into what I mean when I say community cats here real briefly, but I will do, just to add on to Emma's introduction, I have been interested in the welfare of cats since I was very small, as you can see here. And in 2000, and I've done a couple of freelance fostering, but I really got into fostering in 2020, also the same time I really got into trapping cats and getting them fixed. So just a couple other pictures here. So that's me up in the upper corner with a litter of foster kittens. They had ringworm, so I'd just given them a bath to help take care of that, and we were having a good time juggling kittens there. And then here, and you'll see the kittens I was trying to trap here, I'm in a storm drain. Mama had some kittens near a restaurant. Unfortunately, Mama got run over. So the restaurant workers contacted us because they were still hearing kittens. So there I'm trapping the kittens. And here I'm out in Springdale with a TNR effort there. And we had a very friendly assistant on my shoulders. So just some fun pictures of me. But yes, I've always been interested in cats and gotten more involved with that more recently. So, hey, welcome, come on in. So I'm gonna talk vocabulary just a little bit. This is the way I use the terms. I'm not gonna get into a debate about how other folks use it. For me, community cat is any cat that's living out there in the neighborhood. It is for the community. The other 3 words, people use feral a lot just to describe any cat they see outside. But feral, shy, and friendly are describing the personalities of that cat and how socialized that cat is. So when someone says, I have a feral cat who comes up to me every day and I pet it, that's not a feral cat. That's a friendly cat who happens to be outside. So I certainly would call that cat a community cat. But depending on where they live, it's probably either going to be a free roam cat, so it doesn't have necessarily a home base unless that's your backyard. Indoor-outdoor cats, so they have a home that they come into and go out, so you'll see those in the neighborhood. And then when I say stray, I mean one that used to have a home, really shouldn't be out there in the world, maybe is a lost cat, may or may not be doing well health-wise, and that's usually a sign, if they're not doing real well health-wise, that they didn't grow up outside, they don't know how to survive outside. So anyway, that's how I use those terms, that's the distinctions I make, and try to really use feral very sparingly. Use that only for those cats that are really not used to humans at all and kind of aggressive about it. So, we said that we were going to talk about what you can do to care for community cats. The most important thing we can do for the community cats in our lives is get them fixed. So I'm going to talk a lot about TNR, which stands for trap, neuter, return. So it's a process, got some steps in here. You're going to trap that cat, and that first picture there, I'm actually doing what's called trap training a cat, and I'll talk about that a little bit more in a minute, but it makes the cat easier to trap. And then we have our fabulous, our clinic uses Dr. Priya. Dr. Priya also works at Spay Arkansas. She also helps run a spay neuter clinic up in Pineville. She does amazing work for the cats in Northwest Arkansas and beyond. So once you trap the cat, you take it to the clinic, it gets fixed and vaccinated. So sometimes you'll see TNVR. People like to include that V in there to make clear that they're getting vaccinated as well. Once they're fixed and vaccinated, then they've got to have some recovery time. You will hear a whole range of how long that cat should recover. I always take into consideration, was it male, was it female, was the female pregnant, do they need more recovery time, is the cat eating and feeling okay in that trap, then you can keep them a little longer. Lots of different things to consider, but they want to have a warm, safe place to recover after that surgery. And then once they're feeling good, they can go back to where they came from. And we'll talk more about that in a little bit too. But trap, neuter, return, TNR, or sometimes TNVR, is the most important thing you can do to improve the life of the community cats in your neighborhood. So to talk a little bit about the why, I mean, probably if you're listening to this or if you're watching right now, you probably already care for cats, so you probably don't need a whole lot of convincing on this, but one of the main reasons is that there are just too many cats out there. They're all over in the neighborhoods, and there aren't enough loving homes to either foster and or adopt them. So first of all, we just want to reduce that population so that every cat who is out there can have the best life that they can have. So similarly, there's also an overpopulation of cats in shelters. Cats who are shy or truly feral who end up in shelters will likely not have a live outcome. That means they will not leave that shelter alive. So again, we want to reduce that population so that we can reduce the number of cats that are dying in shelters. Another thing, and this is just kind of an interesting statistic that I've seen several places, that about 80% of cats are born outside. Outside is not a safe place for kittens to live. Kittens are quite fragile, and that just adds to that overpopulation. So on the side, I've got a couple different pictures of some of the unhealthy kittens that I have fostered in the past. Obviously, this is when they first came in, and then they got better. That middle picture, when I was in that picture where I was in the storm drain, that middle picture of kittens there, where they're all kind of grouped together, those were those kittens that we trapped down in the storm drain. And again, their mama had gotten run over, so we did not want the same things to happen to them. So cats born outside have a lower chance of surviving than cats that are born inside. And then if we go from kind of that big picture, some of those big picture ideas, and go down to the individual level, you're also improving the health for that individual cat. A cat who is fixed is less likely to have certain kinds of cancer. They're less likely to get like a uterus infection if they're a female cat. They're less likely to be roaming around and either getting hit or fighting with other males. So this is the same cat. This is obviously when I trapped him. This was a year later. You can just see in the quality of his face how much healthier he is after he was fixed. And he stayed close to our home until he passed away, but he was a regular visitor, regular feeder. So that's, then you're going down to that individual cat level. Another thing is for the people who are caring for these cats, they love these cats, but it gets to a point where there are just too many of them for them to care for. So that upper picture, there was another picture of that colony on the first slide. There were 80 cats in that colony that we helped get fixed. At that point, when you've got that many, the financial burden on the person to feed them is overwhelming. So if we can reduce the population of cats, and again, this woman deeply cared for her cats, it just makes that life better for that human. Also for people who don't feed the cats and don't particularly care for the cats, fixing them so that there's a lower population also reduces things like the fighting, the yowling when cats are in heat, having them roam throughout trying to find mates and getting hit by cars. And lastly, just to make the point that catch and kill doesn't work. I guarantee you, if I could have every cat live inside in a loving place, I would love that. That would be my goal. But we're not quite there yet. We do need, we're not there. And we do need to reduce the population. But catch and kill doesn't work. It's what the shelters did for over 100 years. We still have a cat overpopulation problem. And the other part of that, too, is when you remove cats from a territory, the resources, the water, the shelter, and the food do not also get removed from that same area. So you're just going to have more cats show up and take advantage of those resources that are in that area. If, on the other hand, you fix those cats and put them back, they're not going to reproduce, so that population isn't going to grow, and you're also not going to have cats from outside that territory come in until that colony passes away. So to get started with TNR, if you fix it, or if you feed it, you got to fix it. That's the one thing I would say. And also with TNR, you have to be willing to work with people. I think a lot of times we get into this because we love the cats, but you have to work really closely with the colony caretakers in order for this to be a success. That colony caretaker knows when they are feeding the cats and when those cats show up. So that routine and predictability of when the cats are going to come is important. Also, before you trap, having the supplies that you need and having a plan are critically important. We often have people reach out to us in the nonprofit and say, I've trapped this cat. And that's great, glad they've been proactive, but if we don't have a clinic for a week, then we're kind of scrambling to see where we can get this cat in. So make sure you work with the clinic, with the caretakers to have a plan. Have patience. You can see that is not a cat there. Sometimes we catch things that we're not meant to, so it can take a little bit of trial and error. Another story about patience, this cat on the lower right there is a cat who escaped a trap in the trunk of my car. So I'd had the back seats down, I put her in the trap in the trunk of my car, and I'll show you which trap she escaped from. As I saw her escaping, I decided to just close the trunk because at least I still had her trapped. She took a snooze. As you can see, she's quite pleased with herself. I set up a security camera in my trunk so I could watch her. She had a really nice 16 hours just chilling in my trunk. Did finally get to retrap her, set up a trap going through my back seat with some food in, so she eventually got hungry enough to get retrapped. But things go wrong, so having patience is really important. And then the last thing is knowing your limits. It can be really tempting, especially when you get into this work or this volunteering and this work, to see cats everywhere and wanting to immediately jump on it. But understanding what your limits are in terms of what time you have to commit to it, the money you have to fix the cats that you're wanting to trap or that you're working on, where you can hold them. Obviously, we talked about having a safe place to hold that cat after you've trapped that and after surgery, getting them to and from the clinic. So just kind of working through all these steps. And I've got a little bit more about logistics, so I want to go into some of those points more carefully. So feed regularly. Talked about having a routine. Again, you want to know when those cats show up. Trap training. What I mean by trap training is having the trap set open where it's not going to actually catch the cat. Feed the cat in that trap. You can see that cat in the upper picture is very comfortable in that trap. I will have no problems catching that trap or that cat once I have a clinic appointment and I've got a plan and I've got the time to transport it to and from. But if the cats get used to having the trap in their environment, it just becomes a part of that background. They know that if they go in that weird metal thing over there, they're going to get a nice tasty treat of some canned food maybe. Once they get used to that trap, then it's much easier to make that plan, make that appointment with the clinic, and have things go, hopefully, as you want them to. So feeding regularly and trap training are very important. Have an appointment or know the clinic's requirements. If you work with our clinic, we want you to have an appointment. We understand cats don't always, they don't always participate with our plans, but knowing when to expect you is helpful. The Fayetteville Animal Services, they will spay and neuter cats, but you've got to have an appointment with them. Spay Arkansas will allow up to 2 cats in traps. They have to be feral cats in traps to drop off. So again, you just need to know, what clinic are you aiming for? What's your plan? What are the requirements of that particular clinic? We talked about having a safe space for holding pre-surgery, and then I'll skip down to 6-2 post-surgery. Obviously, that can be the same place. That needs to be warm if it's in the winter, cool if it's in the summer. Indoors, somewhere where other cats or wildlife isn't going to get to them. I use my, hit the microphone there. I use my laundry room. So again, when we talk about those limits, I can comfortably recover 6 cats in traps in my laundry room. I know what's going to fit. I know what I have time to kind of feed after surgery. So having that safe place where you know that you can have the cats recover, be held pre-surgery and recover after surgery. Transporting to and from the clinic. So I just said there's 6 that I can comfortably hold in my laundry room. If stretched, I could hold more, but my car can only fit 8 traps. So my limit on any given day, unless I get a different vehicle, is going to be 8 cats. So just knowing these limits so that you know what you can handle at a time. We talked a little bit about holding time depending on the cats. Clinics will tell you different things. Basically, you just want to make sure the cat is alert, doing well, bare minimum 24 hours, absolute bare minimum 24 hours, and then just increase from there depending on how that cat is doing. Again, consider release based on weather conditions. I have held cats an extra day if it was particularly cold or if it was particularly rainy. That's fine, especially if they're eating well. It's okay to hold them a little bit longer. And then last, once you've released those cats, got them back, making sure that you've got time and capacity to clean your traps, clean your sheets, which actually, I'm not sure that I do have this on another slide, so I'll go ahead and mention it here. You'll see in that middle picture, I've got all those traps covered, especially for your particularly wild cats. Having them covered makes them feel more safe. When you don't have that cover on, if that cat is particularly wild, it can hurt itself. It's going to bash from side to side in that trap trying to get out. It gets quite frantic. If you put a towel or a sheet over it, it will calm them down, keep them safer. They're probably not going to injure themselves then. So again, that's some of the other stuff you will have to clean. Or if it's soiled beyond cleaning, just toss it. So I've touched on some of these things. Supplies, humane traps. I have several set up in the back that as we've got time, I'll walk you through those, get you some hands-on time so you can practice setting them and see what you like. Bait, that could be as simple as just, canned food, cheapo canned food. For some of the trickier cats, fried chicken, just from any of the fast food chicken places around here, does wonders. That'll get you some. Recently trapped the last cat. It was a tricky mama. She was the mama of the whole colony. We got her with some Popeye's chicken. Also had a cat that it was the last in the colony. I don't know, we could not get this cat. The colony caretakers had been out, had pizza, so we had a cold piece of pizza we put in the trap, and who the heck knows? We got the last cat. It's just nuts. So there's different things you can try. Catnip, you can get, for your male cats, if any of the male cats are being really difficult to trap, you can get urine from a cat that's in heat, and you can use that to trap them that way. Small dish or plate, and you want something that's really soft, not something ceramic, not something that's metal, because again, if they get in there and they start to thrash around, you don't want them to get injured. So my favorite thing, I also feed the birds, so I put out suet. This is just the plastic thing from the suet that I put out. So I get those, I clean those. These are great. So there's that. You can also just, cut up cardboard. Doesn't really matter. You just need something soft to put in the trap. Spoon, obviously. Old sheet, trap cover, we talked about that. Zip ties, especially for one of the traps I've got back there, if that trap rolls over, it'll open up. So once you've got the cat secure in there, zip tie it shut so the cat cannot escape. Obviously, I started doing that very religiously once the cat got loose in my trunk of my car. So zip ties, pee pads, anytime you're transporting that cat, or have it in your laundry room, have it in your car, whatever you want to have pee pads underneath it. It is going to pee, it's going to poop, it's going to be in that trap for a long time. So you want to make sure that you have something that's easy to clean, easy to throw away. Trap fork, and we'll talk more about this once we get hands-on for show and tell, but this is a trap fork. It's used so that you can easily open one end of the trap, put some food in and out. You can also separate cats if 2 cats end up in one trap. Every clinic will want 1 cat per trap or 1 cat per carrier, so you can use the trap fork to separate them into different traps. So there's that. Some sort of tape and a marker. You'll want to label your traps to make sure that the cat you brought in is the one that comes back to you. So, label it with your... I always use the street name of the cat, so I'll do the street name of the cat, my name, and my phone number. So if there's any questions while that cat's at the clinic knows exactly who to call. They're not having to look through their paperwork or anything. And then water. I don't put water by itself in a trap. The cat's just going to knock it over. But when the cat's in the trap and after surgery, when you're giving them, when you're feeding them in there, I always do the canned food and mix the water in. You want them to get hydrated, but generally speaking, if you just put a dish of water in it, the only thing they're going to do is knock it over. So water to mix in. So I've got 2 different kinds of traps here. There's one other that's not used very regularly that I didn't bring, but excuse me just a minute. So your box traps all pretty much work the same. We've got several different kinds up in that picture in the corner. There's a trip plate, which means there's a place that cat has to step in order to trigger the release of that trap and get them stuck in there. Spring-loaded, which shut a bit harder. I don't really like using those when there's kittens around. Or the gravity traps. I really like the gravity traps. They shut more gently, and sometimes the cat, if they're in there eating, they don't even know that door is shut, and they'll continue to eat. And I usually let them eat until they realize that they are trapped, and then I'll come up and put the sheet over them to keep them calm. They come in various sizes, so that's another thing to consider for where you're holding them, where you're transporting them, that sort of thing. I've got one trap back there that is pretty small. You're not going to get a big old Tom in there. So just know that they come in various sizes. And something to know, this is the trap. Once that cat's in that trap, until it's sedated at the clinic, and it'll be taken out at that point, it's put back in before, we make sure that it's awake and doing its thing, but before it starts to get real awake at the clinic, we'll put the cat back in the trap. So that cat stays in that trap, other than their surgery time, from the moment that they are trapped until the moment they're released. And we'll talk about how you care for a cat in a trap once we get back to our show and tell portion. The drop trap, I always tell people this is kind of like the what you see on cartoons, right? This is the box with the stick. You pull the stick out, you get the cat trapped in here. This is really great if you're targeting a specific cat. You want that particular cat. Or, I haven't used it this way, but I know some people who are more experienced and like the drop trap better. You can get a whole bunch of cats at once, but then you've got to transfer them one by one into one of the box traps. So can be very useful depending on your situation. Couple other things I kind of want to point out, and I don't know that you can see it terribly well, but I've got this set up in the back. You can use a box trap basically like a drop trap if you prop open that front door with a bottle. So if you're aiming for a particular cat, you can leave that door open. You have to watch the trap, but then you can pull your bottle, your string in your bottle, when the cat that you want walks in. I use that method a lot if I'm working at a big colony. We've gotten most of the cats. We're down to just a couple that I'm targeting. Then I'll use that bottle trick. Because the friendly cat, or the cats that have already been fixed, they can come and go, they can eat their food. I'll just keep refilling the food. They eventually get full and stop bothering my traps. they're taken care of, and so then all we have left are the cats that I'm aiming for. And again, once they go in, I pull that bottle. But it also allows that scaredy cat, the one who hasn't gotten fixed yet, to see his buddies come and go. Nothing bad is happening to them. They're going in, they're getting their food, and they're leaving. So I really like the bottle string trick. And the other thing I've got here, I brought the trigger, but it's not charged, so I won't be able to demonstrate it today. But the box trap you can use with a remote trigger. So you don't have to pull a string, you just have to push a button and that drop trap will fall. That's good for your particularly skittish kitties that are not going to come around if they see you at all. So that's just another option there. So just this is my last slide. I've got some resources I want to throw out there for you. As Emma mentioned, I'm a volunteer with NWA Community Cat Project. We run a clinic nearly every Monday, although not this upcoming Monday because there's a solar eclipse. So we're going to be enjoying that. And sometimes Fridays. Our main focus are other cat rescues in the area. We like to be their clinic of choice, and also TNR cats, so the kind of cats we talked about. As we're able to, we'll work in cats from the public, but for the most part, we're focusing on those other rescue groups and TNR cats. Spay Arkansas, I mentioned, they're in Springdale. They focus mostly on low-income owned cats. But as I said, you can show up with up to 2 cats in traps, feral cats in traps, to be fixed there. Spay USA, something to note if you need funding. Spay USA is an organization that gives out small amounts of money to individuals. So not to rescue groups, but this is a great resource if you are individual trapping, trying to get your colony fixed. I'll have to double check this, but I think the application period is between the 1st and the 15th of every month. They'll review your application and they can give, depending on the clinic you're using, about $25 per cat to go towards getting that cat spayed and neutered and vaccinated. We are a participating clinic with that program, so if you want to use us and are looking for funding, look into Spay USA. Neighborhood Cats, fabulous resources. You can just go on their website. And they and the Community Cats podcast host a once monthly TNR workshop. It is 2.5 hours, fabulous information. Brian Cordes is the gentleman with Neighborhood Cats who presents that. So, I mean, I'm kind of running through things today, trying to give you an overview. He does a really nice job of digging into some more things about TNR. So good resources there. And then Alley Cat Allies is another place you can go for resources. So, yeah. You know, I think one thing that I skipped over that's kind of important, and I don't know how I forgot this or missed this, but the way that we tell a cat has been fixed once it's been trapped and neutered and returned is when it's under sedation for its surgery. Oh no, oops. I just wanted the laser. There we go. The tip of the ear of the cat is removed as part of that surgery. So I can tell at a glance that cat is fixed. I can tell at a glance this cat is fixed. I can tell at a glance this cat is fixed. That is extraordinarily important for trappers so that I don't waste my time harassing the same cat, taking him in for surgery. So that cat doesn't keep going under anesthesia. So what I like to say, and I did not make this up, stole it from someone, it's hip to be tipped, right? So once you're tipped, once your ear tipped, you're fixed, you're good, you're a hip cat out there. But that's extremely important as part of TNR and doing that. So before we jump in back and kind of look at the traps that I've got set up and do a little bit of show and tell and demo, what questions can I answer for y'all, or what brought you in?
I was interested to know if the cat stays in the trap all that time, and you answered that. That was foremost in my mind. Once you have a place for the cat and the trap, you put the cat there and make sure. Then you put the food in the trap.
Yeah. And I'll walk you through that, how to do that so that the cat doesn't escape. Now again, if you've made mistakes, like I have, and your cat gets loose in the laundry room, You can always just reset that trap, or if it's a cat that is going back out into your own backyard, as luckily one of the cats that got loose in my laundry room was, I just put a litter box in there, put some food in there, and once he'd recovered from his surgery, I just opened the back door and let him go. But yes, generally speaking, that cat is going to stay in that trap until they get back home and you release them. Yeah.
So you would want to trap the cat. You find your clinic and make an appointment, and then.
Yeah, and then work to trap. Yeah.
And we'll have numbers for these clinics.
I can look them up. Yeah, I should have been better about putting the information on there. We have NWA Community Cat Project. We've got a little card and a little brochure back there that you're welcome to pick up. Absolutely.
Okay, thank
Yeah.
you.
Yeah. Did you have a question?
I actually have the same
Okay.
question
Yeah.
that you answered.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Then let's hop back then, and we can look at some of the different traps. I'll walk you through taking care of a cat in a trap, and let me know what questions you've got back there. So, yeah. And I'm going to keep my microphone on. This is being live streamed and recorded, so just so you know, you'll maybe be recorded too. All right, so back here, and we'll get to some of these other traps first, but I want to show you my favorite one. And I'll show you this setup. So my two favorite companies who make traps and sell traps, this is from Tomahawk, and then that brown one on the end is from True Catch. Those are the two companies I like the best. The ones that you'll find at like Harbor Freight, Tractor Supply, that sort of thing, they're okay, but I'm not going to trap with them. I've had cats escape from those before, to the point where this is the trap that I want, that I'm going to use most often. So in this case, I've got a couple things to show you here. I've got the pee pads down. This one on the bottom is actually it's a reusable waterproof pee pad. I use this just as kind of a backup. Otherwise, I'm using the disposable pee pad that I've got right here. So as the cat spills their food, pees, poops, does their stuff, that's easy to throw away. Keeps my car and my laundry room clean-ish. I also have it lined with pee pads on the bottom just to make it a little bit more comfortable for the cats. At the clinic, once they're back in the trap, they're often going to come with newspapers and or pee pads on the bottom. So again, as they get soiled, you can remove them. So in this case, I have trapped two cats. The one on my right has already been fixed. I know it because it has an ear tip. But this one has not been fixed, and I want to make sure that this one stays in the trap. So what I'm going to do, actually I'm going to use and this is an important point too. Use a trap fork that's going to fit your trap. This one's a little bit too small for this trap. It'd be great for some of those silver ones over there, but if you use the nice big one. So they're in there. I'm just going to separate them gently here. If I can get my trap fork in there. Oops. Oh, getting caught on the pee pad. I know, right? All right, so now they're separated. The other thing I love about these huge forks that I got from Tomahawk is they've got the clip. I can actually clip that onto the trap, so I don't have to worry about shoving it in there and making sure it doesn't slip out. So I've got the cats separated at this point. I can open this side, and this cat is going to go running out. Oops, there's my food dish. You can see its ear is tipped. Sorry. So this is also the same principle, though, on how I'm going to feed this cat. The end of this trap comes completely off. Again, this trap fork clips in place, so I don't worry too much about putting a second one in here. If you have one that doesn't clip in place, then I would recommend doing 2 trap forks. That way, if the cat is particularly aggressive, makes it a little bit harder for that cat to get out. Typically, they're not. Typically, they are cowering at this back end. Sorry, I should keep this cat covered so that he doesn't get too stressed here. Typically, while I'm feeding down here, changing out pee pads, that sort of thing, the cat is going to be over here, kind of shy. Generally, they're not terribly aggressive, only once in a while. So anyway, then I get my canned food, mix it with a little bit of water. I also will do dewormer, because if the cat eats the food, they'll get some dewormer. Just bonus, you don't have to. But there's that. And this trap, that door that I've been removing, locks in place. Yeah, Marsha, I'll show you that one in a minute too. What's that? That's my newest one. Okay, so we'll pretend that this cat has been fixed and everything. I'll show you how to set this trap, and then if you all want to try it, you're welcome to give it a go.
Do you order this online, or do you?
Yep, yeah, this company's out of Wisconsin, and I think True Catch might be too. I can't quite remember. Yeah, I know Tomahawk for sure is. Okay. Yeah, roughly 100.
If you don't need it again, you could donate it.
Absolutely, yes, and we love these traps. So this one, a couple things I like about it is once it's closed, this has a locking mechanism over here. This bar, if it comes up, the cat can come out here, but it's very hard to get for a cat to bring that bar up. I have not had a cat escape from this trap yet. So if I were setting this, and I'm going to take these pee pads out so you can see the trip plate right here. So this piece right here, this is what the cat needs to step on in order to trigger the trap. Yeah, this plate right here. I like this one because it's nice and big. If you look at those two silver ones in the middle, that trip plate is pretty small. When it's small like that, the cat can reach over, eat the food, and leave without getting caught. It's harder to do it in this trap or some of those other traps that have kind of the bigger trip plate. So that's why I like this one. So there's my trip plate. I want to put the food on the far side of the trip plate. So this container is a little bit big, but it'll do the trick. I'll put my door back down. I'm going to lock this door in place. Again, it's all about making sure once that cat is in there, he can't get out again. And then to set it over here, this is a gravity trap. This is one of those that is going to, when it closes, it does it kind of gently. The cat might not even realize that he's trapped in there. So for this, I push in the locking mechanism here, bring up that bar, and then there's a little notch. All you're doing is placing those two bars right next to each other, just crossing them like that. And then cat walks in, steps on that, and gets caught. And that's it. Did either of you want to try setting this one?
Sure.
Do you want to do hands-on?
I think I know, and then when I
Yeah.
have to do it.
Yeah, exactly. Yep.
So you kind of need the fork, even if you don't have multiple cats, you can put food in there.
Yeah. I mean, you can, so on this one, in order to bring that bar up, you have to push that piece in first. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, you can risk it, and just open this side just a little bit to slip your stuff in and out. But have enough cats escape the trap and you're going to be over risking it.
Okay, so show me. this
Yep.
one again.
So then what I do is put my finger through here, push that bar
Oh, and
there.
that?
Yep.
Did you see that? It goes up.
Yeah, and it's just that really gentle tension that keeps it in place there.
Okay.
And then when they step on that one, there's that. There you go. And then
Yeah.
on this one, once he's in there, and I've learned this, luckily not the hard way, but I have learned this. Once he's in there, just push that bar all the way down just to make sure it's locked into place. And then you're going to cover it. The other thing I really like about this trap is it comes with an option, sorry, that was kind of loud, to get a clear back. So some of your cats will go in and out of this no problem. But some of them are going to look and they're going to say, I don't have a way out of there. So what you can do is rather than putting this end on there, you can put this clear, it's just plexiglass. You can put this clear plexiglass. And so now it just looks like a tunnel. And again, lock it in place.
So do you usually cover the trap when you're trapping, or not?
I don't, unless it was super still, because I feel like and sorry, I'll repeat the question for the microphone. I keep forgetting to do that. Question was whether you cover the trap while you're trapping. Yeah, so I generally don't, because even if there's a small breeze, the fabric is kind of blowing around just enough. I don't want anything to startle them away. So sometimes I do. I know one of the pictures I have in there I did because we were down to the last tricky cats, and sometimes having it covered, they feel like they're going through a tunnel, which is cool for some of them. I've heard this trick, I haven't used it yet, but if you get one of those lawn waste bags, you know, it's just a giant paper bag, and cats love playing in paper bags for whatever reason. You put that over the trap and put the trap in the paper bag. Again, I haven't tried that, but I thought it was a hilariously good idea. Yeah, I thought it was great. So there's that.
Don't leave the trap unattended.
Yeah, yes. Yeah, that's a good point too. Thanks, Marcia. Marcia said don't leave the trap unattended, and that's absolutely true. You don't want to set this and go to sleep and check it in the morning. Yeah, you'll probably, I mean, you might have a raccoon, might have an opossum. The other thing too is that even if you do have the cat that you're aiming for, like we said, if it's scared, it can be bashing around in there until you cover it, and it's stuck. So if other wild animals do come up and are, you know, poking at them and harassing them and whatever, yeah, there's that. Other thing is that there are two-legged creatures that can come around and damage your trap, let the cat out, you know, that sort of thing. So again, these are important tools, and like Marcia mentioned, they're expensive. Yeah.
Also, you put it in the shade, and you might
Yes.
forget it, and then it's in the sun, and then the cat dies.
Yeah, good point too. So yeah, just to repeat for the recording, the other important part about watching it is to make sure that they're not roasting in the sun, particularly here in Arkansas. So once that cat is in that trap, you want this in a shaded, cool spot, especially in our summers, or in the winter too. You don't want them exposed to the elements. So once they're in there, get them to a shelter, climate-controlled shelter, which at the time might just be the back of the vehicle you're transporting them in, which is fine for a little bit. And as you can see, I have labeled my trap so that the clinic will know where this is coming from. We are on West Mountain Street, which is where I caught these traps with my name and my number. Couple other traps I'll show you real quick. So this is that drop trap I mentioned. That's like the cartoon box and stick. It's big, can be kind of bulky, but again, it can be really helpful if you're down to like that last one cat. Important things on this one, you want something weighted. There's a metal panel back here. You want something that has weight on it. Otherwise, when the cat gets in there, if they start bashing around, it's really easy for them to get out. One of my personal resident cats, before he decided he liked me, actually escaped from one of these drop traps. So made me so angry. But anyway, we learned from it. There's springs that are in place. You want the food as far to the back as you can get it, so that when the cat, this is the cat I want, is in the right spot, and obviously you'd use a much longer string. Once the cat's where you want it to be, you just pull the trap and he's there. But like I said, you have to transfer him from this into another trap. I'll go ahead and, oh wait, let me use this one.
You know, another little trick is
Yeah.
to put a bigger plastic box, like a sweater box, in there, it's about this deep.
Oh, to have them jump in.
Food in there.
Yeah.
So it'll take them an extra second
Yeah,
to get out.
very good.
Of the traps.
Yeah, because so the important part about having them back here, so yeah, if you've got a little box that they've got to jump into in order to get the food, this is a heavy trap. If you pull that string at the wrong time and the cat is poised to run out, you might clip the cat. So you want to make sure that we're not doing more harm to that cat. So okay, cat's thrashing around in there. Go ahead and cover that trap. This trap has a side door here, and here's where the trap forks can come in handy here as well. So just remove, oh yeah, and I put a carabiner on this so that the cat wouldn't get out the door. And this, I love having a partner when doing the drop trap just because there's so many moving parts. But anyway, open both doors, do what you need to do to coax the cat. Come on, this one's not moving. Okay, whatever, we'll leave it alone. But coax the cat into your trap, and then this is the trap you're going to take to the clinic, and that you'll care for him in. So again, favorite trap. I mentioned the bottle method, so that's here. This bottle's a little bit big for that, but it's pretty secure. The cats I've already trapped can come and go. I'll refill that food a million times, doesn't matter, because once they're full, they'll stop bothering it. But on this one, I don't have to wait for the cat. Again, I don't want to pull it too soon. I don't want to injure them. But I don't have to wait for the cat to place their foot on that trip plate. It doesn't have to be perfect. For this, just once the cat's in there, the one that I want, I can just pull the bottle and get them that way. So I like that one. This one, let me show you how to set this one, because this is kind of the other style. So these are the spring-loaded. You'll notice that when I pulled that, it snapped a little bit harder. Most of the spring-loadeds kind of work the same, where they're going to have two panels here that you push together, bring up, and then there's going to be a little spring that you set just like that. Do you want to try that? Do you want to try that one too? You know that one.
That's right.
Yeah, yes. Right. Typically, if you've had raccoon traps, one of the things I don't like about this one, as much as I like about my favorite trap over there, is the other end, and a lot of the raccoon type traps, this end doesn't open. And it's really nice when both ends open, so that if that scared cat is over here, I can put food in here. If the cat, vice versa. This, it does have an end that opens, but it's tricky. And I don't want anything that's tricky. I want easy and easy locking. So those are that. But that's a spring-loaded. The one I used with the bottle was a spring-loaded. This is a gravity trap. This is one that doesn't have a locking mechanism on this side door, so you'd want to use the zip tie. The cat that got out in my trunk, the sheet that we had over the trap, she was pulling into the trap, and it was just enough to lift the rings up, and she was able to squeeze out. So zip tie that sucker. I don't have this charge, so I can't demo it for real. But this is the same sort of idea as the bottle, but I can be out of sight for this one. This is a little drone clip, so I could go hide somewhere else, watch for my actual cat to come through, and then when I hit this button, manually. So hit that button, that'll open and close the trap. So it's more advanced stuff, but just know that that's an option as well. And then the last one I have to show you, so this is a brand new trap that Tomahawk came out with. What they're trying to do is make it dummy proof, where this side locks automatically, this sets automatically, so they're trying to make it very, very easy. This trip plate comes up awfully high though, which I don't love. It is a big trip plate though, which is great. On this one, and see, it doesn't, I don't know that I'm going to end up using this one.
Yeah, you have to be right there.
Yeah, and it should. So with this one, you just squeeze, pull, and it's set, right? Which is super easy. Yeah, see, that one's not locking correctly. So I probably won't buy this one again, but it was a new model they had developed. I wanted to give it a try, so there's that. And on this side too, when opening this back door, I'm trying to remember how this works. Right. So this one also, you've got that there. And I kept saying, remember to lock the back door. On this one, once it's in place, it is locked. So easy set, easy lock, but it's pretty strong though. So. Yeah, it's big. It's big. Yeah. Yeah. So that's okay. I think that's everything I have to show you. Any questions or anything else you want to talk about or consider?
I was late, so you may have mentioned this, but do you ever build shelters and stuff, or is it better to just let the outdoor cats do their own thing?
Yeah, so I didn't talk about that, but I'm happy to. I've got a bunch of shelters I built sitting in my shed if you want one.
I spent like 2 hours building one
Yeah.
Saturday, and none of the outdoor cats would go into it.
And probably right now they won't.
Last winter,
Okay,
It was when
gotcha.
it was cold, because I was like, I gotta do
Yeah, 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 yeah.
And then they just like didn't use it, and I was
Yeah.
like, okay.
Yeah, I have several, let's see, at my house, I think I've got, it is a cat. That is what a cat does. Yeah, so for shelters for cats, I mean, certainly as a colony caretaker, I'd rather provide it than not, and right, then they have the option. Couple different, I mean, you can, I know, I used to sprinkle catnip in mine when they made them. Sometimes that would help entice them in. You don't want to feed them in there because they don't want to like have food and attract other critters where they eat. So, you know, I don't know. Cats are cats. Making sure the hole is big enough. If you've got big toms, that can be one thing. You don't want to make it too big because the bigger it is, the more other critters can get in there too. Yeah, definitely recommend providing shelter. And always stress, don't put fabrics in there. You want to fill it with straw. Straw is the insulator, that even if it gets a little bit wet, it's going to keep them insulated. Not hay, not fabric, not cottons, but straw. So yeah, the ones I make are usually just out of like big coolers, styrofoam coolers, super cheap. Cut a hole in them, stuff them full of straw. Some get used, some don't. The other thing I've found too is finding the right level of straw, because sometimes I've stuffed them too full and like, yeah, they'll burrow in there to a point, but if they don't see that there's an opening for them to go into, they're not going to go into.
Yeah, I mean, they're all going somewhere.
Right.
It's gold. It's
Mhm.
not in the thing that I built, but
Yes.
they're doing something. But yeah,
Yeah.
I also live in a very critter-heavy area,
Sure.
so there's a
Yep.
lot of raccoons and other
Yeah.
stuff.
Well, and we were,
Your houses, trailers, your trailers.
yeah, I have a cat who I know lives under our house, and that's where he goes. I've got other shelters out there, but, and that's one of the things about cats, especially if they're adults who are healthy, they know where that shelter is, even if you don't. So I always think, yes, provide the shelter, and whether they use it or not kind of indicates whether they need it or not.
Yeah, these are all adult cats.
Yeah.
The only non-adult cats, stray cats, have since become insect cats.
Yeah,
So-
awesome. That's perfect. Yeah, but I would definitely provide it, and then, yeah, they're cats being cats. Oh,
You should plan,
you know what? And I forgot another, I just remembered another thing I was gonna say. But yeah, did you wanna?
you should plan your trapping according to the clinic schedule, or if you make an appointment with
Yes.
the animal shelter, then you need to plan accordingly,
Yeah.
you know.
Which is why that trap training is so important. Because
Trap.
if you wanna plan, you've gotta get the cat ready for the trap. You've gotta get it used
So
to it.
appointments on Thursday, then you wanna withhold food on Tuesday even,
Yeah.
and
Kind of depends how used to that
Yeah.
trap that cat is. If they're used to going in there to get their meal, it's less, I have found it's less important to withhold the food. But if those cats don't know that trap, then yeah, absolutely. If that colony caretaker can skip a meal or two for those cats, they're more likely to go in here because they're gonna be hungry. Yeah. Oh, and that was one thing that you and I were talking about before we started the program was when you put food out, yes, you want to have that regularity of time, but you also want to pull up the food. So give them 30 minutes to eat, right? If that cat is coming at the same time every day, they will eat their fill, then take up that food so that you won't get the raccoons, you won't get the coyotes, you won't get the other critters. Also, since we're talking about feeding, recommend doing it either at sunrise or sunset. So again, you put it out, you pull it up in 30 minutes. You're less likely to get flies in their food, ants in their food. Yep, and for ants, which is a huge problem in my backyard, I'll take a big dish, fill it with just a little bit of water, put the food dish inside it. Yep, the ants can't swim, so they can't get to the food that way. So there's just some like little tiny tricks like that that can help with those sorts of things. Yeah. But also having that 30, the feed and pull up at 30 minutes. Cats don't have watches, but I swear, they're not going to miss that meal either. So that helps with that predictability of when they're going to be there, so you can make the plan for their appointment. Well, thank you so much for coming, and if you're watching online or watching this later, thank you. I appreciate your time.
so whose trap is that? Did you buy that? Is that ours?
No, this one, Mew gave me.
Oh, gave you?
Yeah.
Because
Because
they're
I
not.
just didn't know how it's gonna catch.
more or less, yeah.
Always something to do.
Yeah.
And then that little one thing? So this little drone thing?
This one, so this was, best friend said, basically like, hey, do you want anything from the storage unit? I was like,